Oh,
You
that
know?
style doesn't work? Well,
Yeah.
you work. Either you work or you don't work.
I'm starting to reach out now and talk to a lot of people, which I'm really grateful for. You know, like I spoke to recently UFC fight coach John Hackelman.
Okay.
Do you know who he is?
Oh yeah, me and John go way way back.
Yeah, the Pit Man, right? So being a karate guy himself, Kempo guy, I said, listen, what's your take on kata? I got rid of it. He says, but when people do want to learn it, he goes, the way I teach it is I wouldn't take a lot of moves from the sequence. I would look at it as a toolbox. And I'm kind of summarizing here, but he says, I look at it as a toolbox and I would pick and choose certain moves and then put it in the context of striking, grappling, takedown defense. And he says, I'll put it in that mix and pressurize it. And if I can pressurize it and it stands up to striking, grappling, and takedown defense, he goes, I think it's passed the test. Right. And so that's what he said, his take on kata. What's your take on that? And what's your take on its functionality?
Well, I think it's a less useful drill, to be honest with you, because it's a solo drill.
Yeah.
So can you get as much solo as you can with a partner? Probably
Right.
not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, did it serve a purpose if I was alone on some small offshoot Okinawan island and I had no one else to train with? Or after injury, I did like fake Tai Chi and fake Kata when my knees hurt this
Yeah.
summer, or 20 years ago when I had an appendectomy. I could barely move off the couch and I'm trying to stretch the
Yeah.
muscles.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
can serve some purposes.
Yeah.
Can you get as much as Kata is not really a drill like a two-person drill? Probably
Right.
not. Quite
Yeah.
honestly, you're not getting feedback. You're not
Yeah.
feeling the other person's balance.
Yeah.
You probably cannot get as much out of it. Is it completely useless? No. I'm not huge on kata. I mean, I used to do my taekwondo forms, and but I mix max them in my head now. I play on the back porch sometimes. I mean, especially with like everything that's gone on in the world, like and my injuries, I can't be doing jiu-jitsu. I try to like do a little stretching routine and some stuff, and I kind of do fake kata on my back porch. But I think it can be a tool, and I think it's been an overused tool, I guess. Can you get some bunkai out of it? I've watched some of Abernathy's stuff off and on, and some of the things he comes up with is okay. A lot of other people, I've seen some stuff, and it's like really stretching. It's like
Mm-hmm.
really far fetched. Like we're trying to take this thing and make this all like this was designed 100 years ago in Okinawa to take out the UFC fighter with that. Like we're stretching things a little bit. I don't like revisionist history. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
some of it's very good, and some of it's stretching things a little bit
Yeah, you see, my take
too
my
far.
take is I would agree on the stretching part. But I have a lot of friends in the practical karate community that are doing pretty good work in terms of they take the kata as a tool set and then they just spar with it and put it in different scenarios and see what works and see what doesn't, right? And to me that's healthy, right? But the question is, do you need kata to do that? I would say no. You don't need it. But the thing is, like, as a traditionalist, it's kind of like having I tell a lot of my good friends this. It's like having all this expensive old equipment in your basement. Okay. Like, so let's just say, either fitness equipment or electronic equipment, and you don't have any instruction manual, but you know that it's got value and it's there, and you've acquired it and you just don't want to throw it out, type of thing. So you
Well,
just
you don't
find
have to
some
throw it
use for it,
out.
right?
You should
Yeah.
be getting insight from it.
Yeah. Right.
But the point is, you should be getting insight from it,
Yeah.
tidbits. Oh, that helped me. I did watch one of your videos breaking down kata,
Yeah.
and I think it's the same one Chinzo Machida did about calf kick defense. The same motion, I think it's Okinawan, where your lower leg kind of whips. You did the cross step. Okay.
Yeah.
And then
It's
the
like an
lower
instep,
so
and kind of
you
kick in.
yeah, you did it from a more sideways stance
Right.
and came at it from a more traditional karate but you came up for some reasons to kind of whip your leg and reposition there. Where like I could pull it back here and then side kick the support knee of the guy.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So that's your interpretation.
Yep.
Chinzo Machida comes up with it as that is a possible defense when you're more square as an MMA fighter against the calf kick, which is basically the same thing I did in my calf kick videos back in 2012. I said it's like 3 ways. Best way is check it. You could lift over it and let it go underneath, or you can loose leg it if you're in a good square, stable stance. That's how you fight, not a boxing sideways stance. But if you're nice and square, you can loose leg your leg, and I mean, there's going to take some damage, but by taking the weight off of, you can go here and go into a 2-3-2 combination right off of it. So I think it's the same kata, or at least the same motion you guys have broken down.
Yeah. So not Nahanchi or Teki in Shotokan is called.
Nanchi?
Yeah. Nahanchi in Nahanchi kata, or Teki in Shotokan it's called Teki. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the one, and you both came up with good things out of it and different things from different stances, really. Because once the more modern take, we're a little more square and getting hit more straight on. And they're like, well, the guy's here and he kicks at me and I can lift my leg here and I can kick out a support knee, which you see in my like Systema Low kick defense video. You might want to take a look at. I have 2 videos: Systema defense to low kicks, Systema defense to above the belt kicks. And it's some interesting stuff that most people in the sportive world don't think of.
Right, right.
But now if I'm hitting the back of the head and there's 5 guys surrounding me and I'm falling into the guy, there's stuff you might do differently than like, okay, everything's perfect copacetic. We're in a fighting for 15 minutes or a sport thing in the Olympics where, that's different than the variables and different angles.
Oh, that's it. That's the answer right there. So you see, okay. So sensitivity, have a base, and have the ability, the adaptability. You need to be adaptable, right? Like
if you have spinal structure.
Yes.
If you give up your structure, if you bend over and let me guillotine your knee in the head easy, I can katanagi you, I can do everything.
Yeah.
If you don't have balance, you have nothing.
That's right.
You got to have, and if you don't have spinal structure, honestly, you don't have any power.
Yep.
So you have to have strong spinal alignment.
Yep.
If I can take you out of alignment, I just took you down energy efficiently. I broke your structure. So this is like breaking structure is like a thing from Systema, but it applies. It's all the human body. So if you don't have that spinal structure, you won't be able to adapt. If I'm too hungover and like this, that might be great if it's only sport boxing. But as soon as you add knees and knee up the chin. That's why MMA is kind of so beautiful, even better back in my day when it was no hold barred and you could kick a knee on the head, knee the head on the ground and all that. It kept things even more real, a little more dangerous, but more real to keep the wrestler worried. If I sprawl, I can knee him in the head. There's a certain beauty to that.
What's your along the same lines over here? What's your take on fusing traditional martial arts with combat sports, with combatives? Like, I can tell you my take really quickly, and then I want to know your take, obviously, because you're my guest here. But my take is really simple. I'm not boasting here, but I put in time in the arts too. I don't have the experience like you. I wish I did.
I haven't watched that much of you, but I've seen little clips, and that's why I'm talking to you. You have some very good sensitivity. You know how to move in and kind of change through different ranges, it looks like. And really how to mix things together. So, I mean, that's why I'm like, okay, this channel's not the biggest yet, but you have knowledge, and that's why I'm talking to you, so we could have hopefully a bit of an authentic conversation that can help people expand their knowledge and be more open-minded and push the arts forward, which is maybe one art. It's all the individual art. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I love that. I started training kind of like you. I started training when I was 10 years old. I'm 52 now. I probably took about 3-4 years off because of personal things and things like that. But that's a good 35 years in the arts. Now, it's nothing to brag about because it's a curse actually, because the amount of time I put in, I've met so many people who've checked my ego. I've met so many people who've basically taught me that, you need to learn this now, right? And like I put in, like, say 14 years in Shorin-ryu, 12 years in Kempo, 2 years in Shaolin Kung Fu, 5 to 6 years in combat sports, and then seminars all over the place, and touched hands with all kinds of people. And every time, all throughout this duration, I've been beaten, submitted, checked. You think you're good until, right? And all this stuff. And, I've stopped criticizing. I used to criticize. I mean, I was young. I used to criticize all the time, but I stopped criticizing now, I had a conversation with Rokas, and I like his presence online. I mean, I like his video production quality, and I like the fact that he's always questioning. But I posed this question to Rokas. I said, why do you feel the need to question so much when if you've put in the time, you'll see, and I don't mean this as a slight to him. I said, if you put in the time, you'll see that there's no need to question, because just receive it. When you receive it, you'll see that all these things work. It's just a matter of studying. You need to have that study ethic, and like you said, be that anomaly, right? Like, be that person that's gonna test, is gonna read, it's gonna study, and all this stuff. So, like, what I'm trying to say to you is, I put in all this time to know that all these things work, and that's why I brought you here, because I wanted your answer on functionality, and I think you've answered it. You need your base, you need your spinal structure, you need your sensitivity, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, you need to play. You have to mix combat sports in there, right? Like, so my question to you is, what's the value is there a value in mixing combat sports, traditional arts, and combatives, and being open to learning all of these things together?
I think, yeah, I would say so, definitely.
Because you're doing that, right? You're doing that.
I've always done that. Yeah. Even you could be a great sport fighter, and he's so cocky, like, no one could beat me, and then he gets hit with a metal pipe in the back of the head. Yeah. And gets stomped by 8 guys. Doesn't matter, because he doesn't know the combatives aspects. That, I should take the guy seriously and put my hands up and be looking around like, hey man, I don't want any problems while you're checking the 6. So you have to have that combatives mindset. Even a great sport fighter could end up dead because he doesn't take someone. And sometimes I've had to stop bouncing because people have threatened to kill me. I'm like, okay, dude, whatever. I stopped getting even a little bit of adrenaline.
Yep.
So there's times literally I stopped bouncing at a bar. I made a lot of money at a big club in Hollywood because I'm like, man, that guy might really come back with a gun and shoot me, And I didn't even get a little bit of adrenaline, and a little bit of fear is good.
Yeah.
Like a little bit of a fear that, okay, at least, like, he might pull a weapon because he's so scared and being so mouthy because he knows my presence, I would destroy him. He might stab me or shoot me. Yeah. Like, you have to have that much respect of mortality, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's one reason, like, the combatives guy or the sport guy, a functional sport guy, kickboxer, jiu-jitsu guy, MMA fighter, should be thinking about combatives.
Yep.
Okay. And then why should they all not go, well, that Kung Fu Aikido thing sucks, like the young guys online do? Mm-hmm. Why? Because why are you so focused about saying everything, what sucks, instead of focused on making yourself better?
Nice. Yesterday I was talking about this to not yesterday, a couple of days ago on the weekend there. I trained with one of my good friends. Shout out to Scott Taylor Jiu-Jitsu. He's a beast. He's a short little guy, Japanese jiu-jitsu player, but cross-trained in all kinds of arts. And he was just saying, people, the internet, man, is so full of judgment. Why don't you guys just shut up and train? Just shut up and train. You know what I mean?
The answers will come to you when you've done it long enough, and you'll start to come up with your own answers for your own
Amen.
body type. Oh, that style doesn't work. Well, you work. Either you work or you don't work. I know I work.
I love that.
That style doesn't work. Well, I can't make that work. Well, you suck. I'm sorry.
I'm a school teacher, right? And I tell the kids more or less the same thing, but in an academic context. And I tell them, I said, listen, you know why you're getting bad math marks? You're not putting in the time, right? And they don't want to hear this. You know why you're writing? You know why your sentences don't work and your sentences lack detail? Because you don't practice writing. Get in there. Practice the drills that I'm teaching you. Like, come on, man.
No, technology is making a horrible, lazy world.
Yep. It's too many options. You and I are pretty much in the same kind of ballpark, and I think our values are more or less the same in a sense that, you study, you're diligent, you train, you experiment, I don't have a fraction of the skill that you have, but I think it's safe to say that I have the same kind of aptitude as you, right? Like I train. I'm not shy to say that, or scared to say that I suck at something. If I do, I would love you to show me where I went wrong so I can improve on it. It's that simple, right? But
from what I've seen, you get it. I don't know how much jiu-jitsu you've done, how much judo you've done. So in the grappling aspect, maybe you need to do more.
Oh, big time.
Yeah. So I think that, but from the little things I get, I'm like, okay, this guy, I'm very like what I did the playing in the park with that guy the other day. Like if me and you did wrestling drills, but trying to lock each other.
Yeah.
And we did plum clinch drills, but we're trying to lock each other and throw each other, and then we added in knee strikes and punching the body and MMA gloves and uppercuts.
Yeah.
And if we could pull off locks or throws on each other, I think you would be very fun to from just because I can see just a couple seconds clip you have in a couple of your videos. I'm like, oh, okay. So I can see that you have that sensitivity and that awareness.
Yeah.
So I think, we both have 35 years training in different styles. Yeah. It just sounds like maybe in the grappling you're a little less.
Yeah.
And
correct.
You didn't have the competitive experience that I know. Played MMA and full contact and stuff like that. So in that way I have more experience. But as far as years in and studying different styles and being open-minded, we kind of are on the same wavelength.
Yeah. And my coach Sam says, he goes, you wasted your time in karate. He goes, you should have trained with me, and this and that. And I disagree. I agree and disagree. I agree in a sense that I kind of wish I did more combat sports when I was younger because I'm feeling it now, man. But but apart from that, I don't regret my karate experience. It's taught me a lot, man. It's taught me how to basically grind. It's taught me how to study. It's taught me how to take any curriculum and make it work, and because of karate. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, that's the budo you get from studying karate or judo that maybe you get in combat sports. And that's why I recommend teenagers should be doing judo in the curriculum, maybe real karate. And then if as an adult you want to get into Muay Thai and jiu-jitsu and stuff, that's great. And then after you get 40, well, maybe it's time to look at those bakwa guys because I can only make it a jiu-jitsu once this month because my knee's injured right now like it really is. And I really want to be back on the jiu-jitsu mat, but I should really I'm debating I should probably wait to get an MRI on my knee first.
So what injuries do you have right now, if you don't mind me asking?
My whole body. My lower back probably has slip disc.
Oh,
my neck probably has slip disc. Yeah. Bone spurs are probably pinching nerves. I have nerve problems the last 6 months. My ear, my cheek, my neck. My knee got injured at SWAT school, it seems like. I've always had knee issues and MCL issues.
Yep.
And I have microfractures in the back of my femurs. But now it seems like there's some meniscus stuff going on or something different than I felt before.
Yeah.
So I'm a little worried to go back into jiu-jitsu. I'm just kind of like playing through motions to exercise at this point.
Yep.
And not doing a whole lot, but everyone sees me and they're like, Oh my God, or especially if they recognize me from YouTube, their whole thing's like they gotta try and rip my heel off. Like, dude, chill out. I'm in my 40s. Relax. I've barely grappled in the last year. So, like, chill. But they'll go with all their might. And meanwhile, I'm playing with them like this soft, sitting in
Yeah,
their
yeah, yeah, yeah.
half guard or something.
That's ego, man.
And I'm
Those
like,
guys are ego, man.
if you're going with
Yeah.
full power, would you really like me to go with my full power?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I have a cool question for you from again from my coach friend. He says if you were hired to train, let's just say police or law enforcement, and in a 4-week or 2-month program, how would you teach them? What would you teach them?
Kicking from the ground, proper get up to base, making space. Because if a guy's trying to stab you and shoot you, and you fall because you're tripping in doing a stack at a door and there's gas masks, like you got to know how to get up. You got to know how to get up and move and make space.
Yeah.
Technical stand up, they used to call it getting up to base. There's
Mm.
the most common swing is a right hand.
Yeah.
So I teach head and elbow, spear, plum
Yeah.
flicks, knee the groin, either snap them down to a guillotine, shuck them down, snap them down to the ground to run
Nice.
out the hole if there's multiples, or if they're so strong and bigger than you, they posture up, you blast them with elbows. And by
Yeah.
the third or fourth elbow, most guys, if you have proper charging footwork, I teach in my Combatives and Street Jiu-Jitsu DVD, the guy's going to fall because he's tripping. No one
Yes.
can go backwards as fast as you can run forward. And so you're blasting them and destabilizing them, and most people are going to trip.
Nice.
So that's definitely a number one. It's basically everything I teach in my it's 4.5 hours. My Combatives and Street Jiu-Jitsu DVD is like all the essentials. I don't care if you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced. These are the essentials that I think will get you through the biggest, widest variables of drunken uncle. You need a wrist lock to a guy with a finger in your face.
Right.
To a guy grabbing your shirt trying to intimidate you at a bar, to like, full on people assaulting you, or grappling on the ground where you got a gun, he's got a gun, he's got a knife, you got a knife, he's going for his knife in his pocket, and most cops mounted, and the guy's hugging you, and someone else runs up and hits the cop in the back of the head, or he pulls a knife out of his waistband, and he's shanking the guy from bottom. It doesn't matter if you have mount. So at the end, I teach them ground grappling positions
I see.
to control a guy. I mean, I bounced for, off and on over 20 years, off and on.
Yeah.
So I know how to control situations in the pre-fight phase and during and after, and pin the guy and knee on belly, double knee right, or even an eco pin, how to control somebody.
Yeah.
Basically, it's what I put in there. So, I mean, there's 15. I don't like Krav Maga paint by numbers stuff, or
Right.
old BC Jiu-Jitsu paint by numbers crap. I don't like it, but you have to teach a little of it. So I do have 15 of the like common attacks and defenses.
Mm-hmm.
To teach the most practical stuff and even stuff that's kind of building blocks. That helps your knowledge about spinal manipulations and things like that. So I have that in my DVD, and that's all the stuff that I would be teaching law enforcement. There's get off the wall, get off anti-cage tactics.
Yep.
I showed that to a couple of the SWAT instructors on the last day. A couple of I'm like, okay, so it's great for UFC fighters, but okay, I'm entering now with M4, and we didn't realize in the hallway, a big guy happened to be there in his underwear going for his midnight snack at 2 a.m. when you're doing your warrant, and boom, huge guy's got you pinned with your rifle, and you're in gear and helmet, and that's a bad spot to be.
Right.
Can you even reach to transition your pistol if a big guy's just got you shoved by the neck against the wall? So there's stuff that I want to get out there to the SWAT community, to the special operations community.
Very cool.
And it's just very hard. They don't have funding, budget cuts.
Yeah.
Navy SEALs. I mean, one guy watched my DVD, worked at SOCOM for 10 years. Some people are starting to pay attention. I'm about to do a seminar in Cleveland, Texas. We're getting a lot of Army people there right next to the base. But it's hard to make things work officially. But they need it. All law enforcement needs it. A lot of first responders need it, quite frankly.
100%.
I mean, that EMT's getting attacked, firefighters getting shot at.
Yeah.
The world,
real estate agents, man.
Yeah, the world.
they need it too. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So, basics of being able to go have open guard and kick knee kicks. I mean, I had 10 guys trying to stop me when I was down. I did open guard. I got up to base, did some Jackie Chan stuff, and then uh,
Yeah.
it's really important stuff. But you got to know how to knee and elbow. You got to know how to clinch. Spearing into a plum clinch,
Yes.
big guys are all dangerous out here throwing haymakers, but
Yep.
people don't know how to fight in a clinch.
Yep.
So
Yep.
knowing how to Greco clinch, neck clinch, Muay Thai clinch, MMA clinch, whatever you want to call it, knowing how to clinch and also keep your weapon safe if some bigger guys clinching you and you carry a gun or a knife, and knowing how to disengage from a clinch, disengage from a wall, disengage from the ground, get ups from the ground. It's all vitally important stuff, along with defense is the most common attacks, along with knowing how to elbow and headbutt and having balance-based structure, all this stuff we talked about. Most guys just don't know how to stand. They get their feet all crossed. How to throw multiple knees and charge knees, charging footwork, gallop footwork. The way I teach, it's not even like Muay Thai guys will sometimes throw a knee, but not really to hurt. Like, you got to know how to just blast a guy. Combatives go forward with elbows and knees.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you got to learn how to block with your shoulders, the stuff I teach in my 52 series. How to block with your forearms, block with your shoulders.
Yeah, I love that
we
stuff.
talked about ankles
Yeah,
earlier.
yeah.
Sucker punches, it's not me squaring up to you. I square up with you. It's the guy who hit in a van with a stick that hit me in the back of the head. My real situation.
Yep.
I'm in a 2-on-1 stick attack now. The first hit could have killed me. It's the guys standing on the corner now, 15-year-old gangs. That literally you're putting people in hospitals or killing them because it's fun to knock out old people or to steal a cell phone. They're standing on the corner like they're just hanging out, and then boom, they sucker punch this guy and stomp him on the ground. That's deadly force.
Yeah,
it's a dangerous world, and you have to be prepared to protect yourself. And so I would teach people that, and that's why I made the DVD. Usually guys fly in, they film for like 3 hours one day. I did like 8 hours 2 days back to back. So let me stay in 2 days. I try, and there's some stuff I had to cut. We were running out of time, but I fitted as much of the essential stuff to help dictate and control a situation, and how to de-escalate verbally and with your hands in defense, and how to handle things up and down the force matrix.
Yeah.
I debated that with Rokas the other day. I'm like, oh yeah, so a Muay Thai guy beats an Aikido guy. No, duh. Why are you arguing this still? Like, no. What the heck?
Yeah.
But does that mean I have to not fight when a guy's building up his road rage and his fingers in my wife's face and now he shoved my wife? No. Or do I grab his wrist and throw him to the ground?
Right.
Like, there's a point. Maybe at that point I do Muay Thai him, but before that, if he's just pointing and kind of gave you one shove, if I could control it by just wrist locking the guy, or maybe spinning him around and half choking, not all the way choking, but temporarily using a restraint hold on the guy, depending on what state I am.
Right.
Those are better options than having to always. Sometimes you have to. I'm not saying going MMA on a guy isn't the right thing to do. Sometimes it's the best lesson someone could take. And in the old days, that's how stuff was taught. And they weren't taught to be jackasses online, because, there was actually repercussions to actions, which repercussions lead to self-responsibility that is sadly lacking in this world. Accountability, I should say.
Yeah.
Self-accountability is sadly lacking. And that used to happen when you were a dumb teenager, and even before that, the kid would beat you up because you said something about his mama too many times. You were taught to live the golden rule and have some respect for the teachers, your elders. Not saying you should not question some things if they're teaching you dogma or political things, but there should be respect for the elders and not attacking. We're seeing, random people getting attacked and all kinds of bad stuff in the world.
So if you had a chance to train in a training camp with a contemporary pro fighter in a combat sport, who's it going to be and why?
I trained with so many great guys already.
Yeah.
The guy I didn't train with was John Jones. I mean, John's an interesting character. I don't know.
Yeah.
We were friendly at one point. I don't know if we're still friendly. You got to take, it's hard sometimes to separate a man and his mistakes than his actual martial ability.
Yep.
I mean, if you look at actually who he beat and a long run of former UFC champions, he smoked, I think, 6 in a row, Rashad Evans, Lyoto Machida. He went on this run. If you actually look at his record, he went on this run that it's really hard to not call him the greatest, even though the real greatest is probably Amanda Nunes when you look at her opponents and former champions and Olympians.
Nunes,
But John Jones, it's hard to argue with. I mean, and if you look at the way he fought, really, John Jones was Bruce Lee JKD all the way up and a kick you in the knee and eye jab you.
That's right. That's right.
Worked pretty good.
Yep.
Longest weapon, closest target.
Yeah.
It's a whole lot of JKD going on there, not the getting bashed in the head Muay Thai that his striking coach used to have as his style. So
he's a very finesse fighter.
Yeah, so probably, I don't know if I'd get along in his camp or not. I'd love to help coach. But John is certainly an interesting guy. Anderson's already retired. I mean, he might box. We'll see. Yeah. But Anderson Silva, I was in the room with Anderson for 3 months when I was with Machida and Roger Gracie and all those guys. I mean, Daniel Cormier is retired now. Had he asked me this a year and a half ago, I love DC. I love his personality. I want to. He's like my man crush. I want to go hang out at his house and have barbecues with him.
Yeah.
I've only met him twice. Once was right after he beat Barnett, and so he was kind of out of it. I went up and shook his hand and stuff after the mini press conference. It was so small, Strikeforce back then.
Yeah.
And then I saw him in Atlanta about a year and a half ago, and he was really exhausted. He walked in, I walked up, and he stopped and talked to me a minute. And we're looking at each other up and down because we're like literally the same size, which is crazy to think that was heavyweight champion beating people up. Because I consider myself short, 5'10" and 3/4. And
wow, okay.
The reach compared to even the light heavyweight guys I've sparred, like Down Young, who's in the UFC right now. I did okay, but that's because of my trickiness. My blitzing, my neo striking system. I want to mention it. My neo striking cluster fighting system really kind of proves that it worked when I'm 40. And here's a taller, younger, more experienced fighter, more athletic, more in shape, does it every day. It was working out pretty good for me there. But that's a current top light heavyweight, and that is crazy. But heavyweight, man. So I spent two days at AKA up there, but DC was about to fight, so he wasn't sparring. But I sparred K and Herschel Walker. So I spent 2 days up at AK, and then I've spent a couple different times AKA Thailand. But I would have loved to have worked out with DC, and right now I'd love to just hang out with him. His commentary cracks me up. I think he's a funny dude. I think he's down to earth. I think it would be fun to hang out with. DC, invite me to a barbecue, baby. I want to come hang out with Daniel Cormier someday.
Nice. Last question. Yeah, so it's a question on fight IQ. So what's your definition of fight IQ? How do you develop it? And if you were to look at a fighter, it's a bit of a loaded question. So what do you think fight IQ is? How do you develop it? And if you were to look at a fighter in terms of the fighter's attribute makeup, in terms of fight IQ and athleticism, what percentage would you allocate to, say, a good fighter should have? How much percentage of fight IQ versus athleticism? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So fight IQ, it means doing the right thing at the right time.
Timing, yeah.
Doing the right thing at the right time. But not just timing in your technique, but making the right decision in microseconds.
Yeah.
In MMA, it's one thing in boxing. It's one thing, Muay Thai, that's high level. But in MMA, where I have to take in this information, slip this punch, and is that the perfect time to change levels and double leg the guy because he's coming in with too much kazushi, too much forward pressure? To change levels, to go from grappling to striking, but not only that, kicking to punching range to almost trapping range. Boom, we're in the clinch, need that lever, and now change levels and take him down to double leg or Osotogari or something. That's fight IQ. Real fight IQ is rare. Real fight IQ is doing the right thing at the right time. And the master of doing the absolutely right thing at the right time is Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. John Jones had the attributes, the reach, and everything else, and he pretty much does the right thing at the right time too. So to be a champion, you pretty much have to have good fight IQ.
Right.
But the guy who did it in processing speed, and maybe honestly, he plays video games and runs a Twitch channel. Maybe that helped him. I think it's probably genetics, but he can process information and his reaction time like that. But reaction time has to come from psychological. Like I have to think to react most of the time. I have to like send this process to this. So it's not just athleticism. He kind of had the perfect balance of everything with extremely high fight IQ to transition and go here. I mean, boom, I got the guy's back, suplex him, armbar him on the way down. Suplex armbar. So, but even to be any champion, I mean, they're so great now. Amanda Nunes to Valentina Shevchenko. I mean, Valentina Shevchenko really does the proper technical things at the right time, keeping distance with the jab. Boom, there's the liver kick. Oh, they ran in. Boom, headlock, hip throw, Harai Ogosh. Like her timing, her going through the ranges. So, I mean, in a way, a lot of this talk, like, I don't think Bruce Lee was some demigod that could beat up anybody as a 125-pounder. Like, I'm not that. But as far as, like, blending and through the ranges of combat and stuff, I mean, he really was ahead of his time. But, I mean, also the Egyptians were fighting, the Greeks, Pancratians, 648 BC.
Yeah.
Things go back. But, yeah, fight IQ is very important. Attributes, you got a lot of attributes. So it's not just fight IQ and what was the other thing you mentioned?
Athleticism.
But athleticism breaks down to strength, power, cardio, muscular endurance.
Yeah.
There's so much that goes into it. But I guess we could do it tertiary. You got fight IQ, you got attributes, athleticism, let's call it attributes, and you got technique. So there's a lot of guys who get pretty good B level in UFC or even get in the top 5. You can get at like number 6 or 5.
Yeah.
If you won the genetics lottery and you got all the attributes and you can hit really hard and maybe your
genetics lottery.
Maybe your testosterone, maybe your steroid cycle is really good and EPO's on and all that.
Yeah.
Okay. Before you get caught and you get kicked out for 2 years and lose everything. But you got to have the technique too. So those guys aren't going to get number 1. Usually a fluke can happen, a knockout, kind of. I mean, not a fluke, but, things happen. But, the top people have the technique, they have the attributes, and they have the fight IQ.
Nice.
And so unless you
the
have
whole package. Yeah.
techniques, attribute, and fight IQ, it's evolved now where you can't. Back in the day, there were some great fighters that really B-level athletes.
Yeah.
B-level athletes, but they had solid technique and a smart brain and fight IQ. Those people, but the uber athletes are coming in. They're going, well, my football career didn't work out so good. My basketball career didn't work out so well, or whatever. Yeah. I mean, but those guys might be a B-level banger and they get some knockouts. They get some decisions by getting top position because they're very, very strong and good grip strength and attributes.
Right.
But if they don't have the fight IQ, they're not going to become a champion. If they can't, they might, I know grappling and I know clinch and I know kickboxing.
Yep.
But if you don't know how to change between the ranges,
the adaptation,
the adaptability we talked about earlier.
Right.
If you don't have that, you're not going to be a champion.
So my question, I'm getting a better understanding of this, but I want to zone in on this last thing. How do you develop this IQ then? How do you from your experience or from your observations and other fighters or personal anecdotes, how do you develop fight IQ? What would be a recommendation to the world here?
I think some of it's genetics and
IQ.
Yeah. Particularly my IQ scored off charts in like spatial relationships and things like that.
Right.
Kinesthetic intelligence. I believe in multidisciplinary learning. Yep. So kinesthetic intelligence, spatial intelligence. When we're talking martial arts, some of that's genetics and
ingrained
development and stuff, guys. So that there's always that. People are going to have different problems, different levels of difficulty. Um, how do you develop it in martial arts is being open-minded, being well-rounded, experiencing a bunch of different styles. And as I said, even like I have a ranking martial arts video just because it was time to make it. Everyone else was. I didn't know what they were talking about.
Yeah.
And I don't like black and white like that, but I've trained in most of them. And even the ones I didn't train in, the point is I still went and watched different classes from different instructors.
Yeah.
I read about it. I watched movies or documentaries about it. Like I became knowledgeable on the subject. And so that's also a lesson to kids you share. Don't judge because that's what someone told you to feel. That's what you feel. Don't have emotional responses without having intelligent knowledge. Do your own research. Do in-depth research. Study history. Don't get something just from 2 memes you looked at.
Critical thinking, man.
Your emotions are getting played with now instead of logic and facts. Logic and facts matter. And so how do I get that fight IQ is I got to have the knowledge of different martial arts. I have to experience training in different martial arts. And then I have to get experience blending them together through more knowledge of people that have done different arts like me and you, and we have to feel each other, and we have to play out here a minute, and now we're out here boxing, and now we're out here kicking, and boom, now we're here in the clinch, and I got you now because we were like 50-50, but boom, I got on top, and you didn't spend as long doing jiu-jitsu and catch wrestling as me. So, and that's also a bit of a lesson in life too, like
blending.
There's someone, you might have a problem here, but maybe you're better than someone here, or maybe you shine at being creative, or maybe you shine at, some people are better at this or better than that. Like I'm not that skilled with my hands and fixing things and tools and stuff.
Yeah.
I actually logically understand a lot, but I didn't have the guts growing up to really be taught and learn. And so I can actually follow conversations and read an article and logically get a lot of things, but hands-on, I'm not the best guy for fixing a car.
Yeah.
But if you get it, I get this, a wrench, and boom, I can change my own oil. Kids are losing that too. They might not have to go become a PhD or a doctor or this or that. You know what? It's okay. The world needs mechanics. The world needs skilled labor.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you can't read books and get knowledge yourself before they burn all the books. You can study history and get knowledge and study science and study anything. And it doesn't matter if you're the janitor even. If you want to be a painter, if you got that skill, go do that if you can. But try to be as knowledgeable and as well-rounded as you can. And so back to martial arts, be as well-rounded as you can. Have the study of the history and the knowledge. But now you also have to get actual self-knowledge, which I guess is another lesson. It's not only book learning. It's self-knowledge. And so people that, I say it all the time now, been there and done that. Respect your elders. Respect people that have lived longer than you. Respect people that have gone through really bad stuff. But the people that have actually had trials and tribulations, people from other countries that aren't complaining about being poor when they have $1,000 cell phone and $200 Nikes, but people I've seen in my travels in Egypt and Malaysia, and people that are actually starving to feed their child, not just whining about it. So you have to have the self-knowledge and appreciate people that have self-knowledge. So that means I can read about engineering and wrenching my car in a book, but if I've only done it once and that guy's been a mechanic for 30 years, you know what? Let's maybe trust a little bit the guy that's been a mechanic for 30 years. The children out there, be authentic. Don't pretend to be something else or, well, I'm this, so I have to fit in this group. Or I self-identify and all this separation now. Well, I'm a white guy. I'm a black guy. I'm a Hispanic. You're a human being.
Yeah, man.
The only race is there's one race I know of.
Yeah, human race.
So we're all alike in all the cultures. We all have more similarities and differences in martial arts, like you say. But you're also an individual. And so, man, don't let anyone pigeonhole you. Be an individual. And that
Yeah.
doesn't mean just because, well, they think I'm in this group and everyone else has pink hair, so I have to have pink hair too.
Yeah.
No, just because you
Yeah.
fit in with that's your friends doesn't mean you have to. Okay, or just because
Yeah.
I'm the macho guy, the football player, doesn't mean I have to walk around like this and make fun of that nerd when that guy's a cool guy. Awesome, dude. Let's talk some Star Wars and play some D&D. I was a big looking scary guy, but I protected the D&D role players. So the point
Yeah.
is like be yourself, be a genuine human being. In martial arts, look for genuine self-expression and try to tap into your own abilities and your own self-knowledge. Now work on your weaknesses, but if you got something you're good at, and I guess what Dan the Wolfman's good at is I'm pretty good at different martial arts where I can fight you in all different ranges of combat. Am I the best Wing Chun guy in the world? No. Am I the best MMA fighter in the world? No. Am I
No.
Gordon Ryan, the best jiu-jitsu guy in the world? No. Well, I guess my superpower was being pretty darn okay at a lot of different things and kind of how to take little pieces of puzzles and
Yep.
put them together. And so if that's my weird eccentric brain, I guess that's my superpower. And I guess the lesson is try to figure out what your little superpower is or your passion. But just, but also respect the self knowledge of others and try and gain your own self knowledge of experience. And
Oh, I love it.
experience in life matters. Experience different things. Don't just judge those people over there, or you're
Yeah.
all this, or you're all that, or you all suck, or that culture's this, or that person's that, or that skin tone's this, or you're all racist, or you're. I'm sorry, I've never been anywhere in my life where everybody was the same, and yet they're trying to make us all into these little zombie camps of hating each other and fighting each
Yep.
other
Yep.
instead of the unity we're supposed to have, the open hand in martial arts. Hey,
That's what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm trying
it's
to do. Like it's a
very tough.
it's a tough endeavor because for the bottom line is this. I'll close with this. The whole karate unity mission is really it's more martial unity. Like I threw in the word karate because that's my love. It's like my favorite flavor of ice cream.
Yeah,
I love karate, but I love all martial arts, right? And the more time I put in training with such amazing people, I begin to see that we're all the same. We're all trying to get to the same result. We're trying to have a martial expression, self-protection and assertiveness and fending this off and getting in there, dominating this and that for self-protection reasons. That's the martial piece. And then we have the art piece, right, where we're trying to creatively express it and find efficient ways to express it and all these things. Every culture has that. So instead of saying, hey, we're the best, why don't we just embrace, right? So I have a lot of talks with a lot of people about this, and I had a talk with Rokas about this and some other YouTubers too. And, I say, I don't need to question. I can understand why you guys question, but I don't really need to question. So let's bring everybody together, right? So yeah, that's my mission, man.
I'd rather look at our likenesses than our differences.
Yeah, brother.
And everyone in different cultures, colors, whatever, all that stuff they try to divide us by.
Yeah.
You know, the other day I had a great day. I set up my channel because I got invited. I finished my private
Yep.
lesson in the park, and this
Yep.
guy comes over and he invites me over, and I hung out all Memorial weekend Sunday with this whole big group from the Congo. There's like 35 of them. I don't
Yep.
look like them, but they
Yep.
all embraced me. I embraced them. We had a great time. It was old school. Certain cultures still have that. They're trying to divide that family, and they're trying
Yeah.
to divide the structure. And they had a sense of community.
Yeah.
And hey, how's it going? I'm playing with their kids and hugging me and getting me a drink, and like
That's amazing.
that's how it should be.
Yeah, man.
Because we all have way more likenesses than we do differences. And if
Yep.
we have
Yep.
a differences, cool. Let me learn from that. Or wow, we didn't do
Yep.
that. Cool. I don't appropriation. We should
Yep.
all be loving everything, man. Like
I
tacos, awesome. I love tacos. Like
yeah.
if we have something different, shouldn't we learn about that? Be intrigued by that?
Yeah.
and embrace that and enjoy that
Yeah.
and love that and love one each other for that. Love each other for our likenesses
Yeah. and
and also love each other for our differences and learn about them. And the more you learn, the more, wow, we're not as different as we thought.
Yeah.
Aha!
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
Oh man.
martial arts or anything in life, I think that's kind of the way. And unfortunately, technology and um, that's not how people want us. They want us divided, and they want us
Yeah.
depressed, and they want us angry. And you can respect the history and be respectful, and you don't have to throw it all away, even. And it's good to teach the younger, and it's good for you to know maybe, and maybe you should do it on your black belt test if that's how you decide. But to be so stuck in it, to let it wait, it should be something that lifts you up and you got insight from.
Right. Right.
It should
Yeah.
be something
See.
that lifts you up and you get insight
Yeah. You
from.
see, for me, that's what it is. I love how you said that. To me, it's a reference tool. So like, it's like a bunch of tools that I refer to. Like, if I okay, so I have these motions. I've got these circular motions and stuff. Right off the bat, when I look at that, I can't really see. I I I just accept it for what it is. But then when I cross train and touch hands with all these other players who are actually using these kind of motions in play under pressure, I'm thinking, oh, okay, so I can use these kind of circular motions as I'll just tighten it up maybe as a parry and I'll do a slip entry and come in and maybe go for a clinch or a collar tie or single whatever, right? And so I can, because of the blending and because of the studying and stuff, I can connect all these dots. Like at this stage of my training right now, if you were to show me something from any form, any style, it's simply because of sheer experience. I can take it and make it functional,
Well,
right?
yeah,
Yeah,
that's you can connect the dots. I
yeah,
mean, years ago, I started really like my grappling knowledge kind of went boom, eureka, and I did kind of I think invent or refine some submissions. I figured out ways of taking wrestling moves to go into certain rare submissions to actually
nice.
take the wrestling back into the catch wrestling, not just the catch biomechanics of the submission, but how to actually wrestle into some things. I figured out new entries into submissions that way
Wow.
and stuff
Yeah.
because the dots. I mean, literally, I've watched stuff. What was it? I watched like ADCC something, and I saw something, and my brain went dink, 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 and I
Yeah.
came up with something like really cool. And
Yeah.
that's, we're kind of obsessive compulsive, the like diehard martial
Yes.
artists that have done it our whole
Yes.
lives.
Yeah.
Um, and we should be creating and changing and evolving
Yes.
and what works in one moment doesn't work in the next moment. What works with your body
Yes.
type doesn't work with my body type. What works with this opponent, his energy might not work with this energy or not in that moment.
Exactly. You
Everything
see.
is everything is one of my other new sayings lately. Same, everything's everything. It's all been the same and it is all the same.
Yeah.
There's only so
Yeah.
much biomechanics and physics to go around. Like
Yeah.
we're working under the same rules, everybody.
Oh yeah. No, oh man, this is awesome, man. I am so grateful. Thank you. Thank you so much for the chat.
Okay,
Thank you
cool.
so much. We'll stay in touch.
Nice talking to you. Thanks,
Appreciate
Chris.
that. All right. All the best.
Nice.
Okay. Bye.